All right, well then we're live.
We're going?
Well, we're recording. Yeah.
Recording live. Good. I'm glad you're alive.
I'm alive. Are you alive?
Here we go. Ready?
Here we go. Here we go. Here we go now.
Clunk.
Clunk.
These are new thermoses you got us, but they're not thermos. They're Stoke brand.
Yeah, but we're not sponsored by them, so don't say the name again. The sun's in my eye this morning, Tara.
That's an inside joke. You should probably explain.
Everybody figured out I'm a pirate already. Everybody can figure that out.
It's still an inside joke.
I did the appropriate face, arg,
yeah.
And I made the appropriate noises. And I talked like
a pirate.
Hey, matey. Arr, matey.
Guess what?
Guess what? I have a peg leg too.
I've got the booty.
That's what I'm after. I'm after your booty.
Here we go.
Yeah. Jon and Tara podcast.
Yeah. Like, subscribe.
Live and in color.
Share.
In Technicolor.
Well,
4K.
especially that new white shirt.
4K.
You are.
This is a replacement shirt from my other one. But I still have my other one because it's still good. I'm a guy.
Yeah.
If it has holes in it and it's comfortable, it's still good.
Do you, but then you like,
why are you a pirate? You're wearing a hat and the sun is behind you, matey.
Because we were just talking about how bright your shirt is.
Oh, arr.
And I am going to have to wear my
You
sunglasses.
don't have to wear your sunglasses. Everybody
Life
already
is so
knows.
bright with you.
Everybody always knows you're being a pirate. They already know.
Yep.
Pirate Tara.
Well.
If you need to, you can borrow me peg leg.
Okay. Hopefully I won't have a need for that.
Oh, you have a need for it.
Peg leg.
Quite often.
Oh, yes. That's why you're offering it so much.
That's right.
You can foretell my needs.
This is, I know your needs. Yeah. This is a G-rated podcast or a non-explicit podcast. Although you have swore a few times, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
just
let's
busting it out.
Just not mention it.
What? So
what has gotten your attention lately?
You.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
What did I do?
You walked by.
Ooh.
You moved. I saw you after you got out of the shower this morning.
You always seem
got
to
my attention.
arrive at the right time. You can be downstairs in the garage on the other end of the shop.
I put a Wi-Fi humidity alarm in the bathroom, so anytime you're showering, I know. It's not true, but it sounds cool. I could probably I could get one. The Wi-Fi thermostat or the Wi-Fi temperature thermometers I have throughout the shop show humidity, and I can set alarms. So maybe I'll put one of those down. What are you doing?
I'm moving up so I can sit back, but still.
We don't have to look at. We can look
over yonder.
Yes, my focus is on the rock behind the camera. That way, I look like I'm looking at the camera. I don't have to stare into the lens.
Does it look like we're really far apart now?
Yeah, a little bit farther apart. We can turn a little bit, and then we can look at each other a little bit more. I kind of can't though because I got the sun in my eye, so I'd be looking at you through my pirate eye.
So let's
First of all, subscribe.
Yeah, right? Definitely.
Subscribe and share.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to like it, just share. Share with your friends, and then get together a group and discuss what we talk about, and then leave your comments after that. You and
after
your friends.
You talk about it with your friends.
All your friends, all your Facebook friends.
Oh, that's the best.
Get all your Facebook friends to subscribe. All 2,000 of them, your close, intimate friends. And yeah, should we do
I have some shite talking before the roulette game. The review roulette.
Review roulette.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen Review Roulette, stand tight. Stand still. Stay here. Don't go away.
There you go. Actually, it's a movie review. So a couple days ago, you pulled up Queen Pins, which is absolutely amazing that they can make a movie based on coupons. And a person being a former fast-walking Olympian
Fast walker.
Fast walker.
That's a UFO.
And then turning into a super coupon cutter outer person. Then forming an illegal business based upon it. Incredible. Did it say true story somewhere?
I didn't see that.
When you were typing in the search.
Trailer.
Okay.
Queen pins. Oh, I only typed in queen pins. True story. Yeah, it did say true story.
Yeah. Or is it a question?
Queen pins, true story.
Well, it's a trailer, but that might be copyrighted, but clips?
Oh, it's yeah. There was a woman that achieved wealth through coupon clipping because she never spent any money. She got all her products for free, from everything from hair care, like hair dryers, everything in her house she had gotten on coupons or free offers, and she had sent in. Yeah, so it probably is based on a true story.
Okay, but she and the character in the movie, she and a friend, they end up forming a business.
Biggest scammers ever, true story. Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually pretty good. Let me play a quick short.
It's interesting. I mean, for the premise, I mean, they do really get your attention. But I'm going to borrow your critical hat for a little bit.
Well, one sec.
Yep.
Let's do this. We'll give everybody a roulette review.
At the supermarket, spending up to $5,000. She calmly pulled out a stack of coupons. She swiped them for 2 hours. At the end of the day, even the supermarket had to pay him $20 back. There's only one word to describe this: horrible. In order to accumulate more coupons, she buys a lot of newspapers.
Horrible. Yeah, so that was kind of not the greatest one, but all right. Queen pins, the real coupon fraud.
Welcome to a tale of humor, crime, and coupons. You may know the comedy film Queen Pins.
Yeah, look it up on YouTube.
Yeah, there we go. So, okay, based upon a true story, evidently, and I guess I'm of the mindset, I think that if you watch movies, and it's hard to find a movie that is completely like positive or like sending a good message and like a good example. I realize entertainment is not going to fulfill all those needs, right? It's not all Sesame Street, and who knows if Sesame Street was all good too. But
Sesame Street was not a true story. It's not based on a true story.
You mean there wasn't really a big yellow bird in real life?
And a green trash monster. No.
That one seemed pretty real to me.
Well, it may represent some people that you've known.
Yes.
They're all archetypes, Tara.
Yes. Okay, now it's all coming together. Okay, so Queen Pins, I don't even know if I want to go into this.
I don't know why, but just what's the shit talk?
What's the shit talk?
Do the shite talk.
Well, I think the shite talking is that it makes it out to be that this woman in her late 30s, life is all better and grand because she starts an illegal business, gets out of spending 40 years in jail, and only spends like 8 months in jail or prison, and then moves her illegal operations to Mexico and basically just starts up another similar business.
Well, that's
wait, almost done. And she divorces her husband and inseminates herself with another man's sperm at a sperm bank to have a baby. And it's like kind of like the epitome
just a random guy. They went through the Rolodex and picked whatever guy they thought looked the best
in the movie
because she was there with her friend.
Yes. So it's like
there's a lot of demeaning, belittling of but I was entertained.
It was entertaining for sure.
I was entertained.
But I think even as adults we need to be conscious of.
I actually
these
started
things.
a coupon clipping business after that.
I do not believe you. Only to get the fancy scissors because you wanted the scissors with the scalloped edges or the spiky edges.
It cuts out so pretty.
Yes. And you've perfected lining up the edges.
Yep, there you go.
That's it. Yep.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. So now roulette. Guess who I'm choosing?
Sadia Khan.
I'm gonna choose a Deloney.
Dr. John Deloney.
Yep.
And it's random.
It's random. So what we do on Review Roulette is we go to the Shorts channel on the person's YouTube, and we scroll, zing, and then once they fill in, then we tap one and we play it for you.
Should we
and then we
give a quick bio of who Jon Deloney is?
No, and then we review it. Anybody can look him up. He's going to be on here talking. You don't need to bio him. I'm not promoting Jon Deloney.
Well, just to give context.
No, no. That's
right.
part of roulette. It's all a surprise.
I suppose. Yeah.
Do any of you are any of you married? Any of you have a wife that everything needs to be planned out? You want an itinerary? You want to. We're in the coffee shop this morning, and Tara says to the gal, she goes, "I like the small with third less flavor pump, right?" So
It was actually a half.
So the pump flavor. Just hold on, let me tell the story.
Well, I didn't get to the fractions until later, and now I know how people turn into coffee snobs and asking for their special drinks, because I'm now one of those people.
Snobby.
Mm-hmm.
So she says,
So I want
okay,
a large.
I like the small when you do it with a third less of the flavor.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do that same ratio for a large?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Well,
it's a bunch of teenagers, and we know that none of these kids know how to do math. They can hardly talk these days.
The owner got it.
They can't.
They did a
They
good
can
job.
hardly communicate. And Tara's going, could you do ratio? Let's do it in the metric system. Let's do milliliters, and let's do deciliters. I want to make sure that this is very accurate. And if we get this right, then you could name it the Tara. It was.
Now John's exaggerating.
I filled in a few spots
Yeah.
there. It was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of fun with it.
Well, I'm glad I entertained you. That was my whole purpose.
And then I looked at the young man behind the counter and I said, now you know what you're looking forward to in your future when you get married.
And he said,
This-
maybe.
This is what married women are into: ratios, and they're into percentages, and they're into all of the lists, bullet points, itineraries, spreadsheets, balancing the checkbook.
To a certain degree.
It
you have fun?
was awesome. Yes.
Was that fun?
That was awesome.
Okay,
Thank
good.
you. All right,
You're
so
welcome.
I was going to hit this one that says to build. I hope it's good.
So we have been texting. Unfortunately, that's not my first choice, but he did send me a message a few days ago that he's never expressed in this way before. He did say, I am very sorry for how I have verbally abused you, and I need to change that. And so he says those things, but how can I actually test his sincerity going forward?
So I want you to get rid of the word test.
Okay.
Okay? That creates a power dynamic that a guy who's been hiding from his own life through insecurity, he will feel that a mile away, and it's a very tough hill to climb.
Okay.
So we're not going to test. We are going to build something new together. And it's a new marriage where we don't yell at each other and we don't scream. And we support each other. And yes, we get frustrated. Yes, we get pissed off. Yes, we get angry. We're people. But we're going to handle these things like adults, and we're going to practice that.
Okay.
And I'm not going to test you. But if you scream and yell again, you're opting out of my house. Period.
So we have been texting.
So that's one of the things I do like that he says is once there's a major problem in a relationship, you're starting over. It's a new relationship. The old relationship is dead. Because what'll happen is people they'll breeze over a problem, and the same things that elicited that problem are still there, right? Mm-hmm. And so he always says that you guys got to know, you got to talk about how you're going to love each other. You got to talk about how you're going to communicate. You got to talk about all of your stuff, your daily tasks, all the things you do, how you're working your marriage, because it's a brand new marriage if you're going to move forward. I do like that part.
Yeah, and I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think what he said about, there's not testing, that creates a power dynamic. And I hadn't heard him say that before, but that makes a lot of sense. You should never be in the I'm testing him or her kind of mode. I'm assuming you're talking about spouses, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yes.
that would put you in, that's childish.
Yeah.
Also.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
Ready to
Is that
roll
all?
again?
That was a great review. Good job.
Thanks.
Bam.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back. Should we do another Deloney?
Yeah.
Or should we go somewhere else? Okay. All right, here we go. Review roulette. Let's hope it hits. Let's hope it hits.
Your parents are great people, you say?
Phenomenal. Fantastic.
What would you think if you sat down something as benign as, hey mom, what's the wildest night of sex you and dad ever had? Right? What would you hope she said? I'm not telling you that. Right? I'm never going to talk to you about that because I want to preserve your soul, right? You don't need to know that. And that wouldn't be a lie. It would be her saving your life. Your parents are great people, you say?
It's phenomenal.
Okay, that's just kind of entertaining.
Not a whole lot of
right?
context to it, but also kind of just saying to a young person, your parents' business is their business. And we listened to something the other day, and it was a daughter. There was 5 kids in the family, and one of the daughters found out that the dad was cheating on the mom. And that's actually how the dad got that mom. He was cheating with that mom with his previous wife. And the kids knew that, right? Because 2 of them were her kids, or at least one of them for sure was her kid, and the other 4 were another woman's children. But those kids all called this woman mom because she was so wonderful, right? Even though she was the one that cheated into the relationship.
Well, apparently there's a woman in between. That's what broke up the marriage, and then this one was later.
So my thing with you was I said it's none of their business, because the youngest daughter was playing with the dad's phone and then said to the oldest daughter, "Who's dad texting? I love you."
Well, okay.
Because she read one of the texts.
The youngest daughter is 6 years old. The oldest is 28.
Yes.
I mean, that kind of gives you some more context.
So the youngest was asking the oldest, why is dad texting this? And the oldest then got nosy and looked and said, and then called into the show and said, what should I do? And and more of the story unravels after that. And Deloney did say, he said things like, we don't keep secrets in our family, blah blah blah, that kind of stuff. And then he also did say, you may find out, your parents might say to you, it's none of your business.
Yeah, we've known about this for years. The mom might say, I've known about this for years. We're fine. Right.
Well, the mom might even get mad. She might even, not talk to you anymore. I think, if you're in somebody else's private things, I don't think that you, and you're not like if it's me and you, like if, I grab your phone and I'm doing something and some guy texts and like, hey, yesterday was awesome, blah, 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 this and that. And I go, okay, that's weird and not correct. And, and then I crush the phone in my hand like the He-Man that I am. And then I say, Tara, in a really low voice.
Yeah.
And, it's, that's different, right?
Well, that's between us. It's not getting into someone else's relationship.
Well, and I know of friends that have cheated and do things like that, and I'm not going to their wives. I'm not. Right. That's none of my business.
There was a point in that call, though, however, that when things shifted, and it seemed like he was kind of processing out loud, and then more of the story came out. So the dad then also went to the second oldest daughter and actually just told her, and then
he confessed. Yeah.
And then when the person who called in said that, then Deloney was like, okay, that changes the situation. The dad is actively bringing you into this.
And that's codependent family dynamics.
Yeah. And so, to Deloney's credit, that's when he's like, okay, that's different. The dad actually brought one of the older daughters in. Yeah. The older daughter was still 26, so an adult.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, but then get ready to tell your mom, but just know that this may not go over well.
Right.
And then he prepared her more in that scenario, and then how to do it. And so, yes, so it was like you almost heard 2 scenarios, and it's interesting how more of the story comes out, it can really change the advice, which is imperative. If you're sharing with someone, you're looking for advice, you have to share the whole story.
Well, you never hear both sides, right? We both had friends come to us and complain about their spouses. And my first question is, what are you doing? When they're like, well, she this or he that or whatever, I question the person. What are you doing that has precipitated this, and why haven't you dealt with it sooner? There's so much going on that you don't know. The best way to do it, just like a counselor would say, both of you have to be here. And we've done that. We've had friends come to us separately. The wife goes to you, the husband goes to me, and then we went and sat down with them and said, hey, this can't continue this way.
Yeah.
You guys got to fix this, or you got to stop bringing us into it.
It's not ultimately helpful for anyone. They're just making it worse.
Well,
and spreading it to other people.
And they're just complaining. Because they're going back home. So.
Well, and I think that's what's deceptive about it, because you can complain about it to a friend, and then if you feel better about it, but it doesn't actually solve a problem.
Well, you get the momentary anxiety off your chest, but you go back into the situation, then it just builds up again.
You know what? I would have loved to hear a podcast like ours years ago, and this was like when podcasts were first starting, and because sometimes I think, you know, you go to a counselor and you're so, especially when you're in the heat of it, right? You're in the thick of it.
Generally, you go too late.
You go too late. You're sold on your story. I'm speaking for me. I'm not speaking for you.
Oh, I've been there with you. This is what he says. This is what he does, and he doesn't consider my feelings.
And it's really hard to see from the other person's point of view. But as podcasting has gotten more popular, even in other genres, you know, hearing the other side of the story, right, what it might be like to the other person is really helpful. But when you hear it from someone else, it's not as triggering. Right.
No, I think most people, like I said, they go too late, and they should be there probably. If you've been married 5 years and you go to a counselor, you probably needed to be there in year 2.
Yeah, I was going to say
because
3 years, right?
because you'll crank through 3 years without. I mean, you'll have problems, but you'll crank through them without even noticing. You know, 3 years goes by super fast. If you're a young person, you're listening to this, and you got a relationship, and you're having problems now, and you're just dating, you could still go sit down with a counselor. You could try and figure things out. You don't have to be married to do that, and that actually would be pretty wise, right?
And build tools early into your relationship before you know things come to a head and really become a problem and become harder to address.
Right.
Ooh.
We'll see.
So, well, ooh, Dr. Phil.
Okay. We're gonna do a Dr. Phil review roulette.
Yeah.
Zing. Gotta have the sound effects.
Do you take your ring off when you're in these clubs?
I do not.
You say you're doing it to get free drinks.
Yeah.
So in other words, you're taking it off to suggest to people that you are available in an effort to give them an expectation that if they buy you drinks, then they can be with you.
No. When Jeffrey and I were engaged, I took my ring off when we went into the bar very few times. I'm adamant about keeping it on my finger now just because
For what purpose?
Well, I don't have a purpose.
What was the purpose of taking it off?
I don't know.
What purpose?
No, but
I just did. Men don't even approach me at the bar, for the most part. And if they did,
I can tell you why.
come on
It's
now.
your haircut.
If they do,
no, that's a good statement. Come on,
for the
man.
most part, they don't.
Do you take your ring off?
Okay. All right. You ready?
John.
You ready? No ring.
How come you're not wearing your ring?
Well, because I'm going to the bar after this.
In the middle of the day?
On a Sunday.
On a Sunday?
Yes. It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah, the ladies buying you drinks.
I love all those things.
Trying to take advantage of you.
I go to the bar without my ring so I can get free drinks. How the effing much are you drinking that you can't buy your own drinks? I mean, most of these women would be drunk after 3 drinks. How much are you drinking?
Well, depending on where you're going, I mean, that can be easily $30.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, depending.
Okay.
What are you drinking?
Well, that would be if that was the statement. If you said I'm going
Maybe
to the
she's a coupon clipper, and that's just like a.
I'm just gonna say this out loud.
Yeah.
All right, guys, ladies, listen up. If you said out loud you're going to the bar, and you take off your ring to get drinks, we're divorced the next day.
Yeah, your voice cracked.
We're
absolutely.
We're done. That's it.
I'd be like, okay, fine, you can take me and buy me all the drinks.
I do.
You do. It's to your advantage. Same reason to get them free.
There's no way any married woman needs to get free drinks. I mean, and if she was talking to a guy with her ring on, a guy would buy the drink. Absolutely, because the guys know after 3 there's a chance she's not going to act married anymore. So why don't you tell everybody what you do when you drink out in public by yourself or with your friends?
I don't drink out in public by myself or with
What?
my friends. No.
Why?
I don't feel comfortable doing it. First of all, if I'm driving, I just don't.
You don't go out to ladies' night, Tara?
I do not. I've never gone to ladies' night.
Oh, you're missing out.
Not when I get to spend it with you. Your parties are way more fun.
It's ladies' night every night for you with me. Everything's free.
You're like, have another. You didn't like that? Try this one. Fine. After 3 drinks, I know.
Well, let's tell everybody what happened. You said bring home a couple. Oh no! Last time we were in the liquor store, you said I don't want to get anything. You don't have to buy me a case.
Oh, you were there. You said you were going to stop there to get a nice bottle of tequila or something.
Yes.
I was like, don't get me anything.
Yes.
I know.
And we pulled up to the sample bar.
Oh, but this was the next time we were there together.
Okay. So
yep.
we pulled
and
up.
I knew I wanted a bottle of something.
Yes.
And they were sampling, and the samples
And you
were
said
amazing.
you don't have to buy a case.
Right.
Don't buy me a case.
And you got a case of each of the two.
You wanted
I had
2 bottles.
2 bottles, and you got a case of each.
I bought 13 bottles of each.
I feel really pressured.
You feel pressured for what?
That now I've got to drink. Ladies' night every night.
It works every time, guys.
And yeah. So we need to hurry up and finish this podcast because
Right.
it's almost 5 o'clock.
Somewhere.
And
well, we could have spiked the coffee this morning.
No, there's a certain time of day. It has to be like after 3 for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyways, so no, I've never done ladies' night. I do not. Even I was out with my grandma a couple months ago. She's like, I'd just like to get some wine, and I was driving and stuff. And even 1 glass of wine arguably doesn't affect you too much, but I do know that it still affects me, and I just don't feel comfortable doing that. So I got grandma a couple glasses of wine, and I didn't. I just, it just doesn't feel okay to me. And then of course, just being out with girls or a bunch of people. Well, actually, it's pretty easy to drink underage, and I lived in Brazil for a year, which the legal drinking age was 18, but I mean, you can very easily get alcohol at any age, basically. And I just didn't, even though I was with friends and stuff, your teenage friends are not going to prevent you from too much, and I just never felt
Super
safe,
comfortable.
Yeah, comfortable or safe doing that, and I didn't want to.
Well, when you're in a foreign
lose
country,
control.
especially one where violence is prevalent, right? Because you did get mugged when you were down there.
Not
you
just
didn't,
violence, but danger.
You didn't get hurt. You just got robbed at knife point.
Yeah.
And that's enough to say, hey, I want all my faculties with me when something like this could happen. And you don't know everybody, and you don't know what everybody's intentions are. You did speak the language after 6 months?
Well, after 3 months, you can get by just on daily stuff, and then you just get more and more fluent. Well, most people, if you're immersed in the language.
So the point is, you don't drink alcohol unless I'm there?
Mm-hmm. I've never had, I don't recall ever having a drink that you weren't present.
I've shown up and you've had a glass of wine on the deck with my mom, but you knew I was coming over.
Oh,
but that was at our compound.
Right.
That was
right.
at our ranch.
Yeah, that's very different if it's at our place.
Yeah.
I'm walking home and I'm with safe people.
Literally like 100 feet.
Right. So yeah, it's for me. I'm grateful that even as a teenager, I really had that sense of protecting myself. I remember being out with girlfriend, well, one in particular, but I won't call her out. She came from a culture where it was very, very common to drink, but still, I just.
Well, it's interesting. What would you say to young ladies out there that they're going to parties with their friends? They're already 14 to 17. They've already had several drunken binges, parties with their friends, getting wasted, and nowadays with THC so prevalent, smoking weed, eating gummies, doing all this kind of stuff. What advice would you give to a young lady out there doing that kind of stuff?
This is going to sound so, and you've told me not to edit like this, but it's going to sound so party pooper-ish.
I'll close my ears. La 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 la.
But like, it's not worth the risks. It's not worth not remembering what happened the next day and
making
worrying
decisions you might not make
otherwise, which is, I mean, I've even gotten blackout drunk with you, but I'm like, I know I was okay. I know I was safe, right? But even
I tuck you in bed and then I go watch a movie.
Right. But if you're with friends and they get so drunk that they can't remember or help you out. So like I was saying about this one friend, like, we went somewhere and it was even just real small, intimate environments. I'm like, don't have more than like that, because if I need to drag you out of here, like, I've got to be able to drag you out of here, right? And I would not have anything. Like I said, I've never had any, but more like a few sips. I think when I was in Brazil, I had a few sips of something. I mean, but I'd say don't do it. And because well,
why don't you say the words? You could get talked into having sex.
You can get talked into having sex. You can get raped without even remembering or knowing. Or felt up. You could have photos taken of you that you don't even know exist until they show up. I mean, there are things that I can't even imagine. I know, because I haven't been in that environment, but just imagining those few things, it's like not worth it.
Well, we've had drinks at home.
Yeah.
And you've gotten a little more tipsy than, I mean, you've gotten, like you said, to the point where you didn't remember it the next day. We've gone all the way, and I was like, wow, you were awesome last night.
Yeah.
And you didn't remember any of it. And so there's a potential, I'll say it, there's a potential that a young gal could go to a party. She could be consenting and into it, and there could be several guys coming into the room. And this happens all over the place, and it has happened. I've heard of stories of it happening from people that I've known, and multiple partners in one night and not even remember it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's, and with the prevalence of the street drugs and all the different things nowadays, the things you can drop in a gal's drink and she can pass out and not remember things and or be controlled very easily. It isn't worth it. That's interesting. So even if you and a group of friends were out at the mall, out at the Galleria one day, and you're all sitting down at a nice restaurant having sushi and whatever, and one of your friends slid a glass of wine over to you and said, Tara, I know you love this white. It's the Italian, it's prophecy. It's the Italian prophecy.
Well,
I know you like that.
Sorry, prophecy, that's not that good.
you have that every time you have pizza.
Yeah,
I know that.
That goes well with the pizza.
Yeah. So you would just say no?
I might have a few sips, but it's just, there's a difference. I switch. I'm a different person.
Why would you have a few sips then?
Just for the flavor of it, the taste, but nothing that would. I'm different. Like,
three sips and you switch?
No, like I said, when I took my grandma out, and she's like, I just like it to get a glass of wine.
I'd like it to get a.
Well, and we've taken grandma out before, and we've gone to local wineries and stuff, and it's been a lot of fun. But it's like when I'm in a different mode, and it's just not appealing at all. So.
Well, your 3 glasses leads to a bottle and a half generally. If you hit the third glass.
Well, after 2,
you
it's
start kicking it off into, hey, I don't want to leave an open bottle. It's getting warm. I might as well finish it.
Yeah, my thing is, if I can count the glasses, I'm doing okay. Once I lose count, like if someone's just pouring and pouring, then it's over. But yeah, I think the risks are just not worth it. Even as an adult where I'm of legal age, I think even one glass, my size and even the experience I have with wine, I still don't trust myself well enough for driving. you know.
Yeah, and I joked about it in the beginning when I said, if you said I take my ring off to get free drinks, there is so much more going on there.
Oh yeah.
With a woman that's regularly going to a bar to the point where she's on a TV show and she's saying, I take my ring off to get free drinks. That there's a heck of a lot more going on there. That's why I said that would be it for me. That would be, you know, just that somebody's far enough along that they're saying that out loud. You know, it's not like, oh, I thought maybe, you know, because I didn't have any money, and it's like, well, maybe call your husband. maybe go out to drink with your husband. You know, what are you doing by yourself? Well, I travel for business and I blah blah blah. And you don't have an expense account? I mean, what kind of business are you doing? You don't have money? Mm-hmm. You're traveling for business and you don't have $30 for 3 drinks? You know, and what do you need 3 drinks for? Why aren't you just drinking? Why don't you travel with your own bottle? Yeah, bring a flask of whiskey. I mean, you know, there's so many things you can do that aren't, you know. Mm-hmm. I mean, isn't ladies' night like very discounted drinks anyway?
For that very purpose.
Yeah, so that the women get drunk and the guys show up. Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're chumming the waters.
Wow. You said it.
Yep.
All right, so we're gonna do another Dr. Phil.
Okay.
Okay, review roulette. Zing!
I had another topic, but...
Pachow.
My mother's been saying she's pregnant for almost 4 years. I honestly don't know what has happened.
I got nothing to say about that one. My mother's been saying she's pregnant for 4 years. That's a mental illness show.
Okay, let's go back to the wedding ring though, because you rarely wear your wedding ring. So let's talk about the difference between a man and a woman not wearing their wedding ring, and I want you to start.
Well, you know, okay, we've been married for, you know, 20 plus years now, over 23 years, and earlier on in our marriage, you know, I would get hit on quite a bit, and I noticed women looking at my ring, and then, you know, there'd be witty banter kind of conversation, and then it would move into, I really, you know, things like, you look good, you look, whatever they were saying, right? And it was an overt come on, right? Nobody ever said, take me home, meet me in a hotel, that kind of stuff. But it was going places I didn't want it to go. I took my ring off, and it stopped. Now, this was probably 15, 18 years ago. And I'm also a machinist, and I'm in a machine shop. And I have a silicone ring that I wear in the shop sometimes. But I've been used to not wearing a ring because I don't wear it in the shop on a daily basis. Because you can get your finger ripped off, you can get your finger sheathed where all the skin gets ripped off, that kind of stuff. Electricians don't wear their rings because if they get electrocuted, it'll melt onto their, just melt into the bone and everything. And so, I don't, part of the reason is that, and part of the reason is I got into the habit of not wearing it. Now I've been wearing it more lately when we go places. And I think women are afraid of guys that are available. Like if you don't have a ring on, they don't hit on you because you might then be like, oh, hey, like
opportunity,
all ready for it, right?
Yeah.
And then if you do have a ring on, it's like first of all, you're qualified as a safe person because you're married, just in general, right? There's like a framework of something there. And then the other part of it is that if they are to do something with you, you're committed somewhere else. So it could be a side thing, it could be a fling, right? And so wearing a ring, I think it denotes to some women, it denotes the opposite of what it is. It's like a security piece for them that you're not gonna like be some crazy chaser or stalker, I guess they call it. So that's what I've experienced. How do you feel about it?
About you wearing a ring or
not?
not?
I guess I've never asked you.
Well,
in 20 plus years.
When you first, and it was really early on that you started not wearing a ring, I was upset. And then you explain this to me, and I'm like, well, I'm choosing to
Which
believe
part
you.
did I explain?
About women actually coming on to you more when you are wearing a ring.
And that
of
was when I
course,
was younger. It might not happen now that I'm older, but I might get that silver
fox.
salt and pepper look. You know, who knows?
And then the machine shop deal, I of course understand. I mean, you learn that in shop class at school and stuff like that. So I chose to believe you. And
Well, the other thing is too, there's no women in the machine shop.
yeah,
There's no women showing up and saying, "Hey, oh, you're wearing a ring." Not in the machine shop.
well, and I know you do tend to put a ring on more often now that we go out in public and go out together in particular. So I just chose to believe you that was the case.
I'm so
Trust you.
I'm so about you. It'd be nauseous to most people if they knew how much I am about you. And there's no chance of anything happening with me. Not even if I was wasted.
I think it's more of an indicator if a woman isn't wearing her ring, because women tend to be much more about wearing the ring,
Well,
whether
and it's a way to
fancy or
keep
not.
guys away too.
Yeah.
It doesn't, from my experience, it doesn't keep women away.
I mean, I'm sure it would probably get your attention more if I wasn't wearing a ring than it. Well, maybe then it does for me.
To be quite honest, if you didn't want to wear it, I wouldn't put up a fuss about it.
Would you get suspicious though?
No, you remember when I massaged you that one time, you had that really sharp pain right here? I put a tracker in you.
Oh, okay. I was wondering where you're getting at that. No, I voluntarily keep my tracker on me.
Well, we do. Let's talk about that. We both have our phones set to find me for each other.
Mm-hmm.
And why do you think that is?
Well, I think primarily it's a safety thing. Second, it's convenient. So instead of me texting you saying, "Where are you at?" I actually just discovered that it shows up on the text section.
Yeah, right at the top.
Under your name.
We can
How long
show.
has it been like that?
Always.
Always?
Yeah.
Wow, where have I
I mean,
been?
it might have come in an update that...
It must
that-
be a recent update.
Yeah, so if you look right there at the top, you'll see Tara's name and the town she's in. And we're in Victoria right now.
So like the other day I noticed it. It must have been on the most recent update. I can't, I'm not that
we could look.
vapid about stuff like that.
Well, it is grayed out.
But I saw that you were on your way home. I'm like, oh,
And
or
then
like
you just tap the
we were-
person's face and then it shows all the...
you were picking up
all the
grandma
stuff.
the other day, and I was like, okay, he's here. So instead of me going, where are you? Because I was trying to time dinner and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Then I could just see where you're at. So the second thing would be convenience. Like first it's safety, second convenience, and three, so you can keep an eye on me and make sure that I'm behaving, and vice versa.
It's not about that. So we how long have we been doing that?
Well, probably since you could.
Yeah. Well, and it really, you know, there's so much violence and stuff in the big cities now, and you know, even in the small towns, there's stuff going on, and yeah, I mean,
Well, for sure since 2020. I mean, I was doing projects in Minneapolis at that time, and you told me, you said you're not going to go do your work in Minneapolis for a while, you know, and that was literally like a week before the riots started.
yeah.
And so definitely around that time we started doing more of the tracking. Well, a lot of people we were at home a lot more too, but then just in general the violence overall did increase. And even in our hometown, I was at the local Cashwise, to give you an idea of what kind of a big box grocery store, and I was in the natural food section, and there was these two guys that looked criminal-like, let's say.
How do you identify a criminal, Tara?
So I'll just say plainly, they looked like very tan white guys, and kind of like someone who's outside all the time. Neck tattoos. Pretty sure one had a teardrop tattoo.
So it's not being tan. It's the tattoos.
Well, yeah, but but they're wearing all gray, so like gray Carhartt jackets.
So very nondescript.
Yep, and like the dark.
We know who you are.
Yeah, the almost black jeans, but they're more of a dark gray, and just like you said, nondescript. So
no identifying characteristics other than neck tattoos and teardrop.
And one of them, if not both of them, had a hat on, and I just came out of one of the aisles, and it's a section that maybe has 6 very short aisles, and they're at diagonals. And I came out of one, and I saw one of the guys. And I was like, oh, he doesn't seem to belong here, Seemed
a little out of place.
Yeah. And then as I went to the next aisle, past him, and it seemed like he was kind of meeting up with his buddy who was knelt down, like looking at potato chips or something, but didn't really look like that's what he was doing, And I'm like, I'm done shopping. I'm going to leave. And
then we found out a few weeks later that the cartel was operating out of our county from the sheriff.
Was that later or before? It was after. It was like literally a week or two after. Because I was like...
You saw them after we found that out.
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
So I was like, I'm definitely not hanging around. Yeah. And so, that's in a rural town. It's a big town. It's 14,000, 15,000 people. But still, you think I'm almost an hour away or about an hour away from Minneapolis. It's not Minneapolis, but there's more and more in these big country hubs than you might think. And so, yeah, it is a safety aspect. And of course, I call you right away, that sort of thing. And I used to think that you were paranoid, but what I notice is that you're actually just really ahead of things and aware. So we were going to a counselor for a while.
It's not just me, it's me and a group of friends.
So there was a period of time where we were going through a real rough time, and I got you to go to a counselor with me. And there's a whole lot more to this story, but something like this came up. Like
the counselor wanted to make fun of me.
And so was she making fun of you?
Because you had said something. You had said, I don't know if my husband is paranoid or if he's controlling, if he's just looking out for me.
Right, and I was trying to actually process through this.
Yes, and I
wasn't
no problem
accusing you.
I have no problem with that type of questioning, right? I'm like, if you don't understand or if you want a different perspective, and she basically took it upon herself
scoffed at you
to come after me for it and say, oh, you think your wife is going to be kidnapped and sex trafficked? And I hadn't said that you're going to be kidnapped and sex trafficked. I said there's a lot of kidnapping, there's a lot of sex trafficking going on.
And this was about 10 or so years, maybe even 15 years ago. So this was before it actually was a national thing.
It was national, but it wasn't known.
Yeah,
if you had read the FBI's list of kidnapped people, you would have fallen out of your chair.
And in the last couple of years, I don't know about the men's bathroom, but in all the women's bathroom, there's all, if you're being trafficked,
they made up hand signals, they gave phone numbers out.
Right. So you've just been way ahead of the time. So it does seem like you're crazy sometimes, like the riot thing. You're like, you're not going to Minneapolis now, and I was doing stuff that was like making money. That sounds bad. But.
Me and the ladies were out in Minneapolis making money.
And you're like, you're not going there. And I was like, by that time I'd learned to trust you even more and be like, okay. And then my colleague made fun of me, like, oh, and then even after the riots happened, she's like, oh, that was like 10 blocks away. And I'm like, that's like, when you're in the country, that's like in your backyard. It's really silly. Yeah. So it is a safety thing. And I've learned over time that you're not paranoid. You're actually really aware of what is actually going on, and you haven't drunk the Kool-Aid of...
Well, that friend at the end of their block was a gas station. That gas station got firebombed and burnt down.
Totally
and
destroyed.
They called and they were crying. They were wondering how to shut down their neighborhood. And I explained to them how to shut down their streets, how to patrol their neighborhood, what was legal, what wasn't legal, the things that they could do, and they were so grateful and they were thankful at the time it was going on. Yeah. And I told them if they needed to, call, and I would pick them and their family up, and there wouldn't be a problem. And they were like, okay, thank you, and then afterwards they just started making fun of us again.
Yeah.
And they're not our friends anymore.
Right.
Go figure.
Right.
Don't need stupid people in your life.
So I think I'm not the only woman who has felt that. Like, is he really, because you want to be protected, but then there's a certain point where, like, that seems like a bit much, you know? But there's also reality. And
well, as a married man, I'm invested in you, right? And what I'm doing is protecting my investment, right? I've got 23 plus years into you, and time, energy, emotion, mental processing, intellectual exchange, money, just our future. I'm invested in our future, and for me to just go to be like, well, I'm not going to say something because she's going to make fun of me, or they're going to make fun of me, or I'm going to be embarrassed. If something happens to you, guess what? I have to live with that for the rest of my life. If something happens to you and we're together, not just like, I mean, if you got killed, I have to live with that for the rest of my life. But if something happens to you and you're emotionally, mentally damaged, and I have to live with you for the rest of my life, then I have to do that. And I'm not have to, you know, it might sound harsh and cold what I'm saying, but I would rather put up with the guff I'm going to get from you and other people before something happens to prevent it from happening. And it doesn't mean we don't go places. I mean, after we're done with this, you're going into the city, I'm going back home because we drove separately, and we got stuff to do.
Well, I'm not going to Minneapolis.
No, but I know you're aware.
In the suburbs here.
Well, suburbs, but still, the suburbs are a soft target.
Yeah.
And, you know, look up hard target, soft target, look up awareness, look at environmental sensitivity, all that kind of stuff.
And this is still, even though you have trained me in martial arts, in awareness, you still go to these lengths.
Yeah. You're good with firearms, you're good with knives, you're good with short weapons, like a tire iron or something like that. You know, and a woman should always have a weapon in her hand. You know, it shouldn't be, I'm going to punch him in the head. You're going to break your hand. You know, you punch a guy, he's going to laugh at you. You know, you got to put fingers in the eyes, you got to kick the groin, you got to punch soft tissue areas, and you got to have weapons that can, you know,
do something.
Can drain a bag.
So here's a corollary. Like you were saying, as a husband, you think about all the investment you have in your wife, and that's why you go to these lengths. And no matter if someone says you're crazy, even if I give resistance, I would say that's the same type of feeling that a woman feels when she's like, honey, would you just like slow down on the sweets? Would you watch your health more? You know, I'll take care of things. Will you go out and exercise? Because that's a different threat, right? Especially if he's the primary provider. You know, a health insurance or a insurance policy isn't in all cases that she wants him to die and she wants to cash in. But when you've invested your whole life into a person and that's your life, if something happens, you know, like we've seen even as the people around us have been aging, you know, your parents and so forth, you know, that other person ends up picking up the slack, right? Having to do so much. And so I guess it's kind of my plea out there too to husbands, you know, your wife isn't just nagging on you when she's saying, you know, can you slow down on the brownies? It's
not even lack of exercise that's doing it. It's bad oils, bad sugars, because there are good sugars. I mean, you take high fructose corn syrup, that's a bad sugar. Maltodextrin, that's a bad sugar. Oils, rancid oils in all the food, you know, that's the arterial plaque builder and the heart attack giver, and fried foods and that type of stuff.
It inflames the whole body.
Yeah, and so that's the killer. You know, exercise. You know, if people didn't used to exercise, they went to work. But the food was good, and they were trim and slim, and
they would do normal activities, you know, gardening.
They'd be out gardening,
fixing
swimming,
the house.
Yeah, I mean, my grandpa never exercised, but he swam. My grandma never exercised, but she swam. Later in life, she went to an aerobics class when she was older. But you know, and my parents never exercised. you know, and their generation is when the bad oils and all the sugar products hit really hard.
In their adult life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's raw sugar in my coffee. You know, my coffee comes from nativeroot.com, nativerootcoffee.com, not sponsored, Irvin. And I put raw sugar in it, and I put butter in it. And so it's got the fat to offset the sugar, and it's good butter. And butter has CLA in it, which is conjugated linoleic acid, and helps you lose weight. You know, when people are eating butter substitutes, they're actually putting on weight because the body puts those oils into fat because it can't process them, can't do anything with them. And if, as you start not working out or not sweating, then the body can't get rid of that stuff, so it puts it in fat. So then people are bloated and swollen and inflamed and all that kind of stuff.
Not swole.
And then not swollen. And then and then not feeling good, so they don't feel like they want to do anything.
Yeah, that makes it worse.
So yeah, no, I think it's a full circle. You can hear kind of a whole process of life here about how we operate, and we both wanted each other to say things to people out there that are wondering, how do I do this? How do I say this? How do I tell my girlfriend? She's super hot, she's super cute, and there was 12 girls kidnapped in our state last year that turned up in sex traffic rings.
Well, then later, one of my hairstylists I met a few years later, I learned that her cousin actually was
kidnapped out of a grocery store parking lot.
In the same type of town.
A small
town like ours.
Yep.
And was murdered. And, you know, so that's
and other bad things.
Well, she was never found, so.
Well.
You can just imagine, right? So that was like, oh, okay, it is real. And then I started seeing the signs pop up, right? And then it started coming up in the regular news. And I was like, okay, Jon was.
Yeah, the government and the news are far behind anything that's actually really happening. And the news is so controlled now, they may or may not say anything. You know, if the Olympics are coming up, they're not going to warn young women because they don't want people not going to the Olympics, you know, that kind of thing.
Right.
There's so much advertising dollars and everything nowadays that, you know, if it's not good for the drug companies and it's not good for the major events, sporting events going on. I mean, everybody knows that when the Super Bowl comes to town, so do all the prostitutes, and so do all the drug dealers, and so do all the kidnappers, and so do, you know, it's like a traveling circus, you know, and it's terrible. Mm-hmm. And, you know, people just got to be aware, especially young women, young men too. You know, there's people out there that drug young men and kill them and do all that kind of stuff, but, you know, it's more prevalent with young women and children. And so you got to be aware, and it's easy. The statistics are out there. You know, you can look on the FBI website, you can look on other websites, and you can get true statistics for what's actually happening real time. You know, like in Minneapolis now, since the riots, now there's all these crime sites that popped up. You were going to go with a friend to a museum or a gallery, and you said, will you check that area for me? And that day, there was a shooting right outside that thing, and people like can report. People, they have codes. They have like people heard it and reported it, and then police came. So there's two different categories there. If somebody heard it, they'll report it, and then if the police come, it's another category, and if somebody's arrested, it's another category, and if there's a death, it's another category. So you look on these websites and you see all this color-coded stuff, and it's like, now you know where to go, because you can literally track the gangs almost in real time and what they're doing. Mm-hmm. So you didn't go with your friend because we pulled that up and I showed you the website, and you were like, oh my goodness. Yeah. You think that's a good part of town, you know, but depends on what's going on there at that time.
Yeah, and that same colleague that I was filming herb walk footage is what it was a couple years ago. Later, she shared with me that her neighbor across the street, she was getting her child, the car was running, so it's typical Minneapolis streets, right, city streets, you know, old houses, but I mean, it wasn't run down. It's a nice area, and you know, but people were parking on the streets. The car was running. She was getting her child out of the car on the other side. Someone went into the driver's seat and started taking off with the car.
And the kid was in the back.
I don't remember if she had gotten out at that point, or maybe she's getting groceries out, because apparently this lady was like jumped on the car or something, and that's what I don't understand. Is like I don't think the child was in the car, but that has happened. I read when I first started checking out that site, I saw that the person then gets abducting a minor or something like that charge. And anyways, yeah, it's more real than we may think. And I haven't really enjoyed you bringing this to my awareness, but it's kind of like,
I don't enjoy it either.
Yeah, or even like is it the fentanyl that they're putting on like door handles and trying to just yesterday or the day before in Arizona, they intercepted the largest shipment of fentanyl, 4 million pills. Wow.
It was 1 ton of fentanyl. It's the largest bust ever of fentanyl.
And that's ginormous, because it doesn't take much fentanyl at all
to kill you. No, it doesn't. Yeah, they probably saved millions of lives. So, yeah, and it's too bad. It's too bad it's coming in. It's too bad that they're doing that. It's a war. It's a soft war. And yeah, I mean, just the other day, Chicago. I watched in Chicago. They told all their citizens that the police will not be operating for 4 hours at night. So like from midnight to 4 in the morning. So that gives all the criminals 4 hours to get all their stuff done, and you can't call the cops. So, I mean, you got to be on top of this kind of stuff. You got to know, because I taught martial arts in Chicago, and quite a bit, and I was called to go back down there, and I said, not now. No, I'm not. You got to know your environment.
Well, you've actually had gangs ask you to train, which you've turned down.
Just because you're a martial artist doesn't mean you're invincible. You're and oftentimes you're more of a target. So, if people know what you're doing and where you are, so. Anyway, awareness, yeah, and have fun with each other. Subscribe, share, please.
That got pretty serious.
Yeah.
But
for lighter-hearted topics, go to Wifey School at wifeyschool.us, where Tara does talks with 2 women. Men can listen too, but mostly you're focused towards the women and helping them, figure themselves out, have good practices, and work towards a good marriage or good relationships.
Well, there are things that I wish I learned earlier. And, I'm actually prepping, maybe this is a good prep for the talk that I wanted to do about, is he controlling, or is he actually protective, is one of the topics that I want to do. And
yes, is the answer.
Well, it's a fine line.
It is.
There's a gray area. Not necessarily a fine line. There is a gray area.
Well, it's negative controlling or positive protective.
Where do you think is, like, for you, what would be the clue to me that you're being controlling?
Anybody that hears, this talk, some people will probably think that I'm controlling, but it's not just me. You're aware of where I am at all times. If I have my phone, you're aware of where my phone is at all times, right? And me too with your phone. But
if it's in Lake Superior, I know we have a problem.
But if
or the Minnesota River, you're following the Minnesota River.
If somebody heard, just a general population person heard my talks with you and my explanations about why and how and where and what, they would think I'm controlling. They would, and I would agree with them that I am to a degree, but I am just like you have car insurance. I am just like you're wearing your seatbelt. I am just like you're not sending your kid out on a bike without a helmet. Just like you're not going to ride your motorcycle without a helmet. Whatever it is, right? Whatever safety precautions you're taking in your life, I'm taking in my life, but I'm taking them to another level, right? And you have gone and done things that I wasn't 100% like. I was like, geez, and maybe I should have said something, and maybe I did say something, and you, in the beginning, you thought, well, what, why, and you've done things you didn't tell me you were doing, because you didn't think that I would approve. And so and we've talked through that kind of stuff, and you know, I everybody's got to live their life the way they want to live it. You've seen real time factual instances of things that I've said and they happened, and you can't go to Minneapolis and then the next week it's all burning down, right? And and so literally. I have friends in the military, I have friends in the police departments, and I have friends that have friends in other higher places. Sorry, my shoe.
And they would agree. You know, they would be like, "Yep, that's."
And some of them can't even tell their own wives. Some of them can't because they are not on the level of understanding. So, you know, I appreciate you. I appreciate your understanding of wanting to protect yourself also, and wanting to protect our relationship. And you know, I don't have any problems with stuff, and I weigh it too. I don't go, we're never going anywhere, we're never doing anything. I just say we need to be aware. You know, we used to go to the Curves for Women workout centers and train women in self-defense, and some women were like, I could never hit anybody, and other women were like, oh, I'll take them out hard. And my talk to them was always, be aware of your environment. You know, don't do stupid things like park in a dark parking lot that you have to walk out into at night. Make sure you're under the light. Make sure you have something in your hand that could be used as a weapon, a whistle or mace or, you know, keys or a knife, you know, something like that. You know, have something that that you can use. And, you know, and then just be smart. Always be with a friend. Always, you know, just simple common sense things. And they would all be like, wow, we never thought of this. We never, you know. And then some women would say, I could never hurt anybody. And I would say, well, this guy that's coming after you is raping your kid. And then she'd go like, rah, you know, and she'd go after stuff really hard. And so, you know, it's all about awareness and education, and environmental awareness is huge. And it's a larger topic than you think. And so there are signs. You know, it's like the $100 bill on your windshield under your wiper. Don't touch it. It probably has fentanyl on it. Nobody's going to leave a $100 bill for you. They're actually putting fruit on top of gas pumps now. Fruit, apple, orange,
just like
whatever.
Happened to...
Yep. Somebody left this. You know, I'm going to bring it in or throw it away, or even somebody's glasses sitting on top of the. You know, who takes their glasses off to pump gas? You know, just being aware of that kind of stuff. And if they did, so what?
I have a natural BS meter for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, right? So yeah, I mean, you know, stuff left in a bathroom, right? Mm-hmm. You know, some ladies, you know, there's a purse sitting there. You go out and you tell the clerk there's a purse sitting in the bathroom. You don't have to pick it up. You know, you don't have to, it might have stuff on it that makes you pass out. And the person sees you go in there, they wait, you haven't come out in 10 minutes, they go in and there you are, passed out on the floor. You know, and it happens very quick and people aren't aware of it. In South American countries, they're aware of it.
Yeah.
They don't go near anybody that's doing weird things.
I think that's probably what leans me more towards thinking.
And guess how many South Americans are here now?
I spent a year in South America,
yep.
And I quickly realized that my host parents weren't just being paranoid and controlling.
Because you didn't listen to them and you got mugged.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I listened to them for the most part, but what I would see is, but also, I would be in the car with them, and it's super common to get robbed while you're in a turn lane because it's bumper to bumper traffic, and so you would leave lots of space between the next car, so your windows are rolled up no matter how hot it is. You creep forward, you ignore the people that are coming up because you don't know who's actually a beggar or someone who is going to rob you.
Yep.
And so with them, I got to see the reality of that level of danger. And so, yes, it was literally the one time I went walking through this neighborhood that actually, it was right in front of the school that I went to. I'm like, why would...
And it was daylight.
It was dusk. It was getting to dusk. They're like, don't go, right before dawn or dusk or in the dark, obviously. And I was like, I can scoot through here, And it was just literally like one block this way, one block that way, one block this way. I'm like, I can do it. And it was the one block right in front of the school that I did get mugged at knife point. And then it was like, okay, yeah, it just hit it home even more. Even though I had already seen more of the realities of that just by the precautions they took while in a car. Because you would have your window open just a crack, and they would tell me these things. You know, like maybe I asked, maybe they just were informing me. They're like, if you have it just open enough where they can get their fingers in the top, they'll pull down the window, grab your purse. If you're like, you put your purse in a certain place, like below your feet, or or strapped to your body. Even being in your seatbelt can be precarious. I mean, there's all these little things, so that's why I was more the paranoid one when we went traveling there.
Yeah, because I was wearing a nice Breitling watch. This is my what is? Oh, this is my Casio.
I got my Casio watch stolen, so.
Well, I was wearing a Breitling watch everywhere we went in
I'm like,
Brazil, and you were like, you need to take that off, and I was like, no. But I walk with a higher power, so.
I know you do.
I wasn't afraid. I was having fun. So, you know, and that's probably another talk, because we've been going for a while, but walking with a higher power, walking with God, is something that you need to do. Whether you're afraid, whether you notice things in your environment, you know, you don't throw yourself into the fire and then cry out to God. You know, you be aware of what's going on, and you protect the temple, you protect yourself, you know, and take care of your family and that type of stuff, you know. Mm-hmm. So we'll talk about that later. Now are we done? Because we said it earlier. Subscribe.
Yeah, that was pretty thorough. That was good. So, ladies, he might not be controlling or crazy.
Find out in Tara's talk at wifeyschool.us.
Well, my last question, I didn't quite answer it, because I think it would be good coming from a guy. At what point,
read my palms. Okay, go ahead.
If I wasn't your wife and I was coming to you, and
I'd
know
be so
that
sad.
You're a martial artist, you know all these things, and I'd be like, okay, I know you know about these things. Or maybe if I was going to your friend Jeff, you know, I'd be like, is Jon controlling, or are these things true?
Jeff's on my side, so he'd tell you. He'd tell you the truth.
Well, but what would be the point where, you know, I think Jeff would be justified in saying, yeah, Jon's getting a little controlling, you know? And I realize
what would be the point?
And maybe even if he's not your friend, let's just say I know Jeff, and I know his connections, right? And I'd be like, is my husband controlling, or is he right about these things? What do you think?
That simple question, yes. He would say there's a lot of things out there, and you're very fortunate to be married to an awesome hunk like Jon, a handsome man that knows everything and is a virtual encyclopedia. And I want to make out with Jon too. No, sorry, Jeff. He wouldn't say that. But he would validate everything that I'm telling you and say, I mean, we went and took his shooting course together, you know, for concealed carry. But
what would be the tipping point of a guy like you being controlling rather than protective? What would be some indicators?
That's tough. What's an indicator of being controlling?
Rather than just protective.
Well, if you weren't happy in our relationship, if I was trying to stop you from doing things because I felt inadequate because of those things, or I felt like you were just always looking for a better opportunity for yourself, I mean, I would have known early on if you were going out with your girlfriends all the time and that kind of stuff, and I wouldn't have gone out with you. I mean, you know, our first quasi date, it wasn't a date, but our first time we went out together with another person, with a third wheel.
You were the third wheel.
I went out with two chicks, and I was not the third wheel. I was the most important wheel. I was the front wheel on the trike. And you know, we went out together, and you had said, I like going salsa dancing and that kind of stuff. But you know, as soon as we were dating, we were seeing each other all the time, and you weren't like, hey, I'm going salsa dancing with my friends, you know. You were like, hey, you want to go salsa dance? Can we go? You know,
So I think you started going down a direction that my mind went as after I finish the question, and that is, it's a dynamic. Is he controlling? Is a dynamic between the couple? Because if I was a person that's always like, I'm going to the Mall of America, I'm going to go to this museum, I'm going to go to Las Vegas with my friends, why are you always saying no? And you'd be like, yeah, I have to say no because these are just like extremes of situations. But I'm more like, I'm going to the health club that's, 35 minutes away. It's in the suburbs, relatively very safe area. Still be aware. I'm not pushing the envelope. So I think it's a dynamic, I guess, is what I'm surmising.
It is. It's what you're willing to put up with. It's what I'm willing to put up with. It's what you're willing to say, what I'm willing to say. It's the balance between us.
Because would I be controlling if I'm like, you have to wear your ring all the time, every time you step foot off of this property, you have to be wearing your ring.
That's controlling. Yeah. If you didn't trust me, you would be saying that. If you thought that but here's the problem. What's the difference of taking it off? You can't,
I'm just trying to give a comparison,
right?
Because
we have our trackers turned on our phones for each other, but it doesn't mean you can't put your phone in your car and hop in somebody else's car and go to a hotel. And if I can't trust you, I can't trust you. If I can trust you, I can trust you. So I don't know that there's a difference, or I don't know there's a distinction of, unless it feels completely controlling and it's irrational and you're not willing to live with it.
Like, okay, so we have a trackers turned on our phones, but you're not like
call me every 10 minutes.
Yeah, or I thought you were going to the store, but it took you 20 minutes longer, or why were you stopped here for so long?
No.
Or so
I don't technically track you.
Yeah.
It's
then there's that too.
Like you said,
right?
You were wondering how long it was going to take me to get home when I went to pick up your grandma the other day, and you literally texted me, "I see you're still in this town. I'm going to start doing this for dinner."
Yeah.
Because you won't be home in time.
Right.
And it's
and
like
we had guests showing up.
Yeah, and that's a bang up use of
the technology.
Yeah,
right.
we use the technology to enhance our position and to better our lives. It's going to get noisy here in a second. Take it easy, noise meister. So, so
I think that's what makes it so challenging. And even when I was with that counselor trying to decide, like, is he actually being controlling or protective? And you're going to create it. It's about the dynamic, right? What's the dynamic that you're creating? And that could exist between parent and child, right?
Yeah.
Like the teenager especially, like, oh, you're so controlling. But it's like, well, are you always pushing the envelope? And you got in trouble last week, and so now I'm keeping a closer eye on you.
Well,
which is not the same as a married relationship.
Right. Parents did turn into helicopter parents after the Jacob Wetterling kidnap, right?
Yeah.
So that was a big thing all over the national news, and then parents kind of got all paranoid.